Today we're gonna make the easy sauerkraut, the mighty sauerkraut. And if you don't like sauerkraut, that's okay, because we're gonna make a sauerkraut that you will enjoy. We're gonna do things a little bit different. I'm gonna show you what it is to make a sauerkraut that everyone will like. So first off, you need fresh vegetables, okay? That's the biggest reason for a lot of people's failure, is that they don't get fresh vegetables. If you don't have a garden that you can pick your vegetables from to do this process, that's okay. You can go to the grocery store, find vegetables that look fresh. You want to avoid any vegetables that have dents or bruises or bad spots, brown spots. You want to find things that at least look as fresh as possible. This is not a way to save vegetables that are already on their way out. This is not banana bread that we're making here. So start with fresh veggies. The other thing you want to keep in mind is to make sure that all the things you're going to be using today are clean. They don't have to be like disinfected clean. They just have to be warm, soapy water clean. That's really important. Another thing that grabs failure from the jaws of success is water. You want to have just water, not municipal water, not tap water, no water with fluoride or chlorine in it. The chlorine will kill the bacteria that you're trying to grow. That's very, very important. So filtered water, some sort of just water. Salt. Let's talk about salt. You want actual salt, real salt. Redmond's is a good one. Celtic sea salt is another. There's lots of sources of actual real salt. The kind of salt that you buy in the stores with iodine and all these other things, you want to avoid all that. Himalayan sea salt is another one. We sell these options on our website, perfectpickler.com. And that's really it. Let's go ahead and get started with the process. Now, our value package kit comes with this recipe and instruction booklet, and this is a very handy guide to have around when you do all of your ferments. It also includes a whole bunch of recipes that you can find inside of it, and this is available if you don't have our kit at our website, perfectpickler.com. You can also find a downloadable version with our Master System kit that downloads directly to your phone. But on page 8 and 9, it gives two methods for creating this ferment. You can use a brine method, or you can use a toss method, just using the salt. It's up to you how you want to do this, and people who've been doing this for a while usually have their preferred method. But to make it easy today, we're just going to go ahead and do the brine, and I'll pour it over the top, and I'll show you how easy that is. Now, I'm only going to use about half of this cabbage because it's a really big cabbage, and I'll use the other half for a recipe tonight for dinner. But we'll go ahead, cut up our vegetables, and I'll see you on the other side. Now, one of the biggest complaints we've gotten is that how people don't like sauerkraut. But I want you to look at here. We have all of these ingredients. This is not normal for sauerkraut. Sure, it's going to be sauerkraut. You have cabbage, but we have onion and garlic. And I'm even going to throw a little bit of shredded carrots in it that I did get from the store. It's just going to add a lot more flavor. And it's going to allow a bigger diversity in the type of probiotics that you're going to be growing here. So it's going to be healthier for you, but it's going to give you a different taste profile than you would normally otherwise get from just regular sauerkraut. Keep in mind also that most of the sauerkraut, if you bought it from the store, it's not real sauerkraut. It's got sauerkraut flavoring, or it's made with vinegar. Most of those have zero probiotics because they're soured. That's what sauerkraut means, soured cabbage. And that's against a lot of some of the rules that the FDA and food companies are supposed to abide by. They're not allowed to put soured foods in your local markets for the most part. So if you want to make this from home, chances are you're going to get a different flavor anyway. And plus, if you add the onion and garlic and even some carrots, you're going to get something that's going to taste probably a lot different than you've ever tasted before. So I highly encourage you to add always at least onion and garlic to your sauerkraut. We're going to start off with a clean quart jar. We're going to do a 1 quart batch. I have the brine ready to go here in the jar. And so now we're going to go ahead and just combine this stuff and mix it as we go. We're going to toss it quickly into a bowl and then load it into the jar. I'm not going to add my garlic until I load the jar because I want that to be evenly distributed, and I'm probably going to have maybe a little bit left over, so I want to make sure all my garlic gets in there. I'm going to start off by adding 1 clove to the bottom of the jar. Add another clove. Add another clove. What you're going to do next is go ahead and take this and fill your brine up. Now, there's going to be a lot of air bubbles in this, so you're going to have to shake it a little bit. You're gonna probably have to debubble it. A lot of you guys who've been doing canning, you know how that works. I'll show you just in a second how I do it. But first I'm just gonna kind of shake it, move around. That allows a lot of that water to go down, or the brine. I'm gonna add some more, shake it a little bit. Now I'm gonna debubble. So I have this skewer that I use to kind of move things around and poke holes and stuff. So I'm just gonna kind of do this on the sides. Don't worry, we'll pack it back down here in a second. But you can see that water level is going down because of that. You're letting all those air bubbles out of there. Now that's pretty good. I've got the water level kind of where I want it, but you can see that there's some things sticking up out of here. We're gonna fix that here in a second. I may add just a little bit more. I think that's good. What you're gonna do now is take a piece of cabbage leaf that you have sitting aside from the cabbage. You're gonna place that on top. And then what you're gonna do, you're gonna take the cup that comes with your Perfect Pickler kit, because we use the cup, not the puck. If you use the puck system, which a lot of companies offer, a lot of people will notice that when the liquid expands, when the ferment takes place, you will have a mess on your counter. The cup is handy because it's a patented system where you can actually use that, you press it down, and any expanding liquid will be caught in the cup. So that's really important when avoiding a mess. And so right now, everything is below the water level, or the brine level. So we're gonna go ahead and take our lid now and put that on top. Now your kit will come with a silicone ring. You wanna make sure that is in place. It also comes with a rubber grommet that you need to make sure that's there. And then also comes with an air bubbler. So we'll go ahead and put this all together. I'll put some liquid in here to set the air bubbler, and then we'll go ahead and place it on top. All you're gonna do is just put that on top and screw it down. And that's it. Now you're gonna take this and let it sit for about 3 days. That's all you need, 3 days. 4 at the most. You can let it go longer. Some people let it go. I've heard people say, oh, my ferments, they say take 2 weeks. That's insane. I don't understand why you would do that, but it only takes about 3 days to get fermented. And then at that point, if you want it to go longer, you're gonna get more of a sour taste than some people might like and enjoy. So I only let this go for about 3 days, 4 days, and it tastes it tastes wonderful, and you have tons of probiotics within it. That ferment is going to sit on that counter for about 4 days, and I'll bring you back for a taste test. But to keep in mind, the recipe book included again has all kinds of recipes in it that you might want to use to get started. Once you do your first ferment, once you do a few of these, you get a number of these under your belt, you're going to feel much more confident to branch out and try other things. And all of those other things are going to give you a vast array of different probiotics that's going to be healthy for your gut. So I encourage you to check out our recipe booklet that's included with the kit, but also on our website, we have dozens of free recipes you can access for free online at our website, perfectpickler.com. All of the recipes on there are for free. You can check them out. And I encourage you to share those recipes with your friends who like to ferment. Share those recipes on social media. Get the word out that good probiotics is a great way to get good health, good gut health. As we're waiting for this to get finished, if you start to see a little bit of cloudiness in the liquid at the top, that's okay. That's to be expected. That's what you want. That cloudiness is like the mother getting established and started and growing. So if you see a little bit of cloudiness, things haven't gone bad, they're going right on track. Okay guys, it's been 4 days. We're gonna open this up, we're gonna take a smell, and then we're gonna take a taste, and we'll see how it turned out. Now I wanna point out something real quick. If you've ever made beer or wine and you've used one of these airlocks, you've probably seen some pretty violent CO2 escapage from these airlocks. It bubbles, 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 just nonstop bubbling. And sometimes it can get pretty crazy. You won't see that much bubbling when you put this together. It's going to work, it's going to keep oxygen out, and you might see a little bit differing of levels here, but just if it doesn't bubble or you don't see it bubbling, don't worry about that. You can tell it's working by simply pressing down on the lid and seeing the change. And if you hold down, there's no change, right? If there was an air escaping, you would see that level try to correct itself. But you have a solid seal. The seal inside here, the silicone seal is working, and the seal around the grommet around here, the rubber grommet is working. You have a solid seal, but you probably will not see some sort of massive violent bubbling going on here. And sometimes you won't see any at all. So you know it's working by going around and like moving your jar around, like on day 1 or day 2 after about 24 hours, 48 hours, and you see bubbles coming up out of your material that you're fermenting. So if you see that, you know it's working, but you still might not see a whole bunch of bubbling in your airlock. This is simply to keep oxygen out. It's not allowing it to breathe one way. That's fine if you don't see that. So I just want to make that clear. So we're going to go ahead and open this up and take a quick smell test, because that's always your first indication that things have gone the way they should. And there's actually no liquid in the cup this time. Sometimes it will catch liquid. Yep, that smells really good. Yeah, it's got a very earthy smell. And let's do a quick taste. Yeah, that's very good sauerkraut. And it's got a flavor that you're not going to get if you don't put the onion and garlic inside of this kraut. So that's very good. And the water is cloudy, which lets you know that's what you want. You want that cloudiness. That's kind of like I said before, the mother, like when you see an apple cider vinegar, it's got a cloudiness to it. There's a little bit of discoloring going on right now at the top, just at the very top layer, and that's because probably this water level could have been a little bit higher. It may have been exposed to some of the CO2 inside of here that escaped during the fermentation process, but it's still fine to eat. Smells good. Smells, if you smelled something like off, like something does not smell good, then something went wrong. And if you see like some blue-green mold or whatever going on here, then maybe something went wrong. Sometimes if you might see a white film on here at the top, and that's okay. That's like a yeasty type mold. The way you fix that, what you've made is still completely fine to eat. How you fix that is you put this into a container, and then you pour some more brine over the top of this, and that white stuff will float up to the top and then over into the container that you've placed the jar in. And then after that, it's completely fine. You can go ahead and eat it as normal. Now what you'll do with this is you'll take this and you'll put this in your refrigerator, and it'll last for months in there, but it shouldn't last that long because you should be eating it. I would recommend, if you're new to this and you have some sort of a intestinal issue or thing you're trying to correct with your gut, I would recommend just a tablespoon a day, 1 tablespoon a day to eat, and then you can work up from there. But I usually eat no more than half a cup at a time. But if you start at a tablespoon a day or a side serving a day, and that'll be perfectly fine to get your body used to this new probiotic that you're making. Now, one of the common things that we get often when it comes to making our own probiotics fermentation at home is that some people will try different fermentation methods, and some of them out there teach you that you need to allow this to ferment for up to a month or 20 days or a couple of months even. And that is just not the case. What people used to do back in the day, and this is maybe where some of the confusion comes into on some of these recipes that are out there, what they would used to do, they would harvest all their cabbages at once, and they would chop it up, make all their slaw, and then they would put it in a barrel, usually in a barn somewhere or in a root cellar somewhere, and then they would let that ferment. And then if it was in a barn, they would remove it after where they wanted it to stay cold. They would move it to a root cellar or a basement somewhere on that homestead, and then you could just eat that as you wanted to. And I had lots of people leave comments or tell me when I go to some of these events that, Grandma and Grandpa had one of these barrels in their root cellar, and whenever we wanted some sauerkraut, they just went in, grabbed a spoon, and opened up the top of the barrel, which was usually a wooden lid, and scraped some out and ate it. And that's what they did, and it was perfectly fine to eat, and it would stay down there for however long it was until it was gone, and they would just continue to use it. It never went bad, and to be honest, those barrels, the wood would soak up those probiotics, that bacteria, and that would actually help ferment the next batch for the next year. They would use the same barrels, the same wooden utensils, and all of those barrels and wooden utensils would carry those probiotics inside of that wood, and that would actually it would act as a starter for your next batch. So sure, they would put the salt in and they would do everything as normal like you saw here, but they would add that in, and that would help ferment their next batch. So just a little bit of history on how these things used to work. Now today, you would never see any government agency, USDA, FDA, whatever, recommend doing it that way because they're so worried about germs. And we live in a germaphobe society where we have no concept of how grandma and grandpa, great-grandma and great-grandma and great-grandpa used to make these foods. And we've been living in the cities for so long under government recommendations for food. All of this is new to a lot of people, and they're skeptical and they're cautious about moving forward into something like this. Really, it's so easy. It comes down to your nose. You know, what does your nose detect something that's off? Does your eyes detect something that's off? Okay, if it does, don't feel bad about throwing it away. But for the most part, you're going to be successful if you just keep the ratios that are in our recipe book for our batches when it comes to a brine or just the 2 tablespoons to toss whatever you're fermenting. You're going to end up being okay for the most part. Unless your utensils and your dishes are dirty, unless your vegetables are not fresh, unless you're using bad water, like not filtered, just water, unless you're doing some of these things, you're probably 90% chance that you're going to be successful, more than likely. So I hope that's taken some of the mystery out of having your own ferments, making your own probiotics at home. The sauerkraut is the easiest batch to get started with. I highly recommend getting our recipe book with one of our kits. You can find all of that information at perfectpickler.com and download that. If you want to buy, you can buy the recipe book online also as well. So check that out, do the recipes, and plus check out all of the free recipes that you can find on our website. There are dozens upon dozens upon dozens of free recipes on our website, perfectpickler.com. And I would humbly ask you, if you could, to share those recipes with your friends on social media. If you find a recipe you want to try, share it on social media. If you've had success in using one of our recipes, share it and tell all your friends on social media. That helps get the word out. It also helps our search engine rankings on Google and other search engines so people can find us and learn more about the amazing benefit of fermentation. All right, see you next time on The Homestead. Bye.
Have you ever gone to a health food store and seen all those small bottles of probiotics in your cooler section? Man, can they be pricey. Are you really getting all you need to improve your gut health from those expensive bottles? How viable are they? Most of those products claim to give you between 8 and 15 strains of gut-healthy healing bacteria. Think of each strain of bacteria as a different factory in your gut. Each factory is responsible for breaking down that food in its own way. The more factories you have, the more the food is broken down and the easier the food is absorbed and digested by the body. A 2018 study published by the National Library of Medicine shows that one fermented head of cabbage can produce up to 114 strains of beneficial bacteria. That's a lot more food factories than you're getting from that expensive pill bottle. And that's just cabbage. Imagine the probiotics when you add garlic, onions, pepper, and more to that ferment. PerfectPickler.com and its home fermentation kits provide you with everything you need to get started making your own gut-healthy food factories from the comfort of your own kitchen. PerfectPickler.com even provides a jam-packed recipe book with many of our kits. Visit PerfectPickler.com and start fermenting your own veggies to begin your journey to better gut health. That's PerfectPickler.com.
Hey guys, did you know you can become a patron of an American Homestead? They get access to private videos, and we send them gifts from the homestead that we make here on the homestead. And we also enter our patrons into special giveaways that are only available to them. And before you go, please check out these other great videos. Go ahead, click. I'll wait.